Hey everyone, this is the Coffee with the Geek program. It's the end of March 2018, and I've got my coffee here. And this is a really special coffee mug that I have, and it is was given to me by a friend who's from the Seneca Nation, and it has the Seneca Nation symbols on it as well as the clans from there. So, nice shout out to Seneca Nation of Indians locally here. With me today is an awesome guest, an Edugladiator. I love that term. And you'll have to tell me where you thought up that. But with me is Marlena Gross-Taylor from the Edugladiators. And Marlena, I really want to just, first of all, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
And second of all, tell me about your coffee. What have you got for coffee today?
Okay, I'm so excited to share because all my friends know that I am not only a diehard LSU fan, but I'm an alum as well. So for all my SEC fans and Alabama friends, this is for you. So I have my LSU mug, and in it I have my Mardi Gras King Cake coffee from Community Coffee. That's Louisiana coffee brand. And so we don't have a ton of Starbucks in Louisiana. We have community coffee shops called CC's. And so living in Nashville, I miss it. So when I go home, I grab all the K-Pods that I can, and I can still have a little bit of Louisiana here in Nashville.
Nice. So tell me, Edugladiators. I want to spend some time talking about Edugladiators, but let's maybe start off before then. Tell me about your just kind of educational background and maybe how you got to Edugladiators.
Sure, no problem. So I think the first thing starting off is that I never wanted to be a teacher, much less a principal, and could not have fathomed being a district office person. I come from a family of educators. My mom was a middle school principal, and her family, and just steeped in central office and teaching and all of those things, bus driving, like every aspect that you can imagine. So that is something I grew up saying, oh, I would never do that, right? And then but I was always destined to do it. So I started teaching once I changed careers, actually, and I started teaching once I began my family, and it really has just been a wonderful experience. My husband's job has moved us in several states. We've been in Nashville for 10 years now, so it feels good to be in one spot for a while. But even in moving through those states as a teacher, then as a leader, I've had the opportunity to teach and or lead in all of the different arenas, okay, such as rural education outside of Charlotte, very rural, Hickory, North Carolina, and they pronounce my name as Taylor because their accent is so thick and rich, to being in the suburbs when I was teaching in my hometown right outside of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to being in urban when I taught in Atlanta, and then finally landing here in Tennessee, where I spent most of my career here in Tennessee, all of it as a leader, but also the majority of it in very affluent area of Nashville. So just south of Nashville proper, in a very, 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 very rich district. So working in that very high end clientele, affluent district. So I've been in all those different arenas, and in each arena, Andrew, I've taken bits and pieces that I've learned and all the good out of each one, because there's always bright spots in everywhere that we go. So I've taken those bright spots, I've added it to my tool belt, and I do believe that's what's allowed me to be so successful as an educator, because I can relate to so many different people because of my experiences, but then I'm able to really, again, find those bright spots. So all of those different experiences led me, though, to Edugladiators, and I'd love to share how that came to be. When I was a middle school principal here in Nashville, and it was a particularly rough week, and so my getaway. I'm not a big TV watcher, but when I have a show that I love, I really like dig into it. And so the show that I love is Scandal, one of the shows that I really, really love. And so it was Thursday night. I finally had my own children, who at that time were also in high school, middle school and high school. I had them settled down, and I just wanted to watch Scandal with my glass of wine, right? Really channeling my inner Olivia Pope. And I was participating in a Twitter chat, and I don't remember what the question was, which is so odd. I don't remember the question, but I just felt like I was in an echo chamber because all the responses to this particular question was all the things that all the rhetoric that we sometimes like to just fall into because it's safe to do so. And so whatever the question was, and after taking a sip of my glass, I replied back whatever my answer was, and I said, I do remember this. I said, we have to wear the white hat for our students. We have to be unafraid to speak up and gladiate for them. And I did hashtag Edugladiators. And I had recently just gotten in being a connected ed at that time. It had probably only been a year, if that. And so I was like, hashtag Edugladiator, and it just stuck. And I had such a great response to not only that question of empowerment and advocacy and rethinking how we do education, but also with that term. And so more people kept asking me like, okay, you need to do something with this. Like this is good. This is really, really good. And so like Olivia Pope, I can't do it by myself. What fun would that be? And so I gathered a group of people that inspire me, that I had been following along with their work, and that I thought would be great to be core warriors in this process and to help push the vision and mission and help create what that vision and mission is of Edugladiators.
Wow. So that's for someone who hasn't heard of Edugladiators, and I can bring up the website here. Can you talk maybe through what Edugladiators can do, and we'll work from there. I'm going to share my screen and we'll bring up Edugladiators, the website.
Sure, sure. So Edugladiators, it is a new era, ushering in a new era of leadership, of engagement, and also advocacy that's based on what's best for kids. And we really take that to heart with Edugladiators because when what we found is, and definitely what I found, especially in the different arenas that I had worked in, was that we have some amazing people that are so selfless and have servant hearts giving to children that are not their own in such a beautiful way that many people just need that encouragement, that empowerment to say, you know what, I was right. We can do this differently. We can rethink how we're doing this. And I'm a firm believer it starts at the top. So having that leadership, having the right leadership in place and at a district office level, at a school level, and then in our classrooms, because our teachers are leaders as well. Having them in place to be empowered to do what's best for kids is absolutely amazing and what we need. Then when we talk about engagement, we can't teach the way we were taught. We can't teach our kids. This is Gen Z that's in our classrooms now. And so we have to rethink how we engage our students because they are not the same as when we were in school. It's not that way. And I like to joke that I'm 28 forever, but part of that is look at you laugh. Okay, I'm being very serious. But part of being 28 forever is really just a great reminder to me and to those that I speak to stay relevant. We hear rigor, and that's such an important piece. But we also need to make sure that we stay relevant to what is best practice for our kids, what is best practice in our instruction, and how we can continue to move that forward. And then the last piece of Edugladiators being engaged in rethinking advocacy. Last weekend, of course, the students across the country were doing an amazing job of advocating for gun control. We need to advocate for them. We need to advocate for our kids. We need to advocate for our profession. They had a couple, West Virginia, did a strike a couple of weeks ago because they were advocating for having that being paid a living wage. We need to advocate for our kids, for our profession. And so that is so much easier to do when you go into the arena armed with amazing people by you that's going to push you, support you in every way possible so you can bring about change. And so That's what being an Edugladiator is. And as far as what we do with Edugladiators, you can, as you've been showing the website, Andrew, which I really appreciate, you can have a warrior come to your school and light a fire in your school or in your district. We each have our gifts. I have the things that I feel very comfortable in and where I've had an incredible amount of success. And then all of our core warriors each have their different areas that have helped them be so successful and sharing out. And so I love being able to offer that opportunity to have me or the core warriors come out and help you in this process as well. I know that, what's interesting, Andrew, is that I'm from Louisiana, I'm born and raised, and I didn't leave until I started my family and was married. But had I stayed in Louisiana, I doubt that I would have been as connected as I am and would be able to see things as differently as I do. So I'm a firm believer that we're placed exactly where we need to be. And so I have been influenced and inspired by others that I've met, especially since in my travels, that has laid the groundwork for an Edugladiator or this movement to exist. We always say part of our hashtag is hashtag more than a hashtag, because it takes action to be an Edugladiator. You can't just sit on the sideline. And for those of you that are familiar with Scandal, you have to actually get in there and do the work, and you can't be afraid to do that. And so that's what being an Edugladiator is.
So there's a lot of elements to the site, including podcasts, and I know there's a blog there. Is that are both of those just your team that are sharing their ideas, best practices, ways to connect through those?
So that's really, thank you for asking that. We have, like I said, I have a core group of warriors that we definitely share through this space, because it's all about lifting other people up too, right? And giving them a voice. And some of the folks in my core warriors, they've never written a blog before. They've never done a podcast before. They were kind of learning and lurking on the sidelines on Twitter. So being able to empower them and say, hey, I believe in you. Like, I think you have a voice, and you should share that voice and your gift in this way has been really incredible. So it started off with this core group, and now it's expanded to even leading our chats on Saturday mornings, to having tons of guest people come in and lead things that are topics of their passion and their expertise. And so really excited to have, especially this summer, we open it up to not just us reaching out to our own PON, who would be great at leading certain chats, but opening up, do you want to lead a chat for Edugladiators? Do you want to write a blog post? So now we're at the point too, which is super exciting, of offering this platform to even more people to find their voice, to share their story, to help motivate, inspire others, because we connect with different people. There'll be some people that's listening to this podcast and will be like, okay, I like that lady right there, and I can connect with what she's saying. There's others that will listen to other folks that you've even had on and say, that person is speaking my love language right now, And so I think it's really important to have a variety of people share their stories, because if we can create a ripple of change with one person, that ripple can go on and on and on. And we're so excited to be able to do that, to offer this platform up for those that want to join us in the arena, more than just on a chat.
So within the chats, people can join, your chats, and they would find information about those on the website.
Absolutely. So,
okay.
We have our chat, and we have a monthly theme, and then we have guests moderate those themes. And our chats are only 30 minutes. They're not an hour. It's short, to the point, 4 questions that really not only push your thinking, but hopefully inspires you to action. And we always list incredible resources in each and every chat. And we encourage everybody that's participating in the chat, sharing your resources, connecting with people that, again, that you read a tweet and you said, okay, I like that, and having those sidebar conversations, having other chats be created because of Edugladiators, because it inspired someone to do that, or have other blog posts be created. That's a beautiful thing.
Okay, my apologies for the dogs.
Oh no, my dog is
No way
resting
to
very
stop
nicely by my feet,
that.
so I'm hoping that she won't bark out right now.
It's okay. Um, I love that concept, and really, I think it shows the empowering ability of professional learning networks and connecting across the miles for so many people. Um, can let's dig into maybe your background in education. It seems like you, as you said, you had done so many different perspectives and different school systems. Where is education in America today? Where would you like it to be if you could, maybe wave your magic wand and get change? The change that you want today happens. That's a
That
big
is a
question.
great question. It is a big question. It is because one thing I know that in all the different arenas that I've been in, right, kids are kids. Kids are kids, and parents and teachers and the adults in their lives in general want the best for their kid. We've heard this all the time that parents aren't leaving the good ones at home, you know, and sending us the leftovers to school. It's not that way at all. Parents want their kids to be successful, to have a better life than they had. I want the same for my boys, and so that doesn't change. So what needs to change, I think, is how we approach that. I think that in education right now, we have a couple of things going on. First of all, we're moving towards a more progressive way of educating our kids, but we're still stuck in that industrialized model of everybody sitting in rows and still very heavy test driven. You still have to pass a test to show what and I get how monies are all involved, especially in the different leadership positions that I've been in. I understand how that's all connected, but at the end of the day, jobs are not looking for kids that are really great at taking tests. They're looking for kids that are able to think creatively, to collaborate with each other, especially with people that are different from them, and not just different in how they look, but different in how they think, different in how they work. And they're looking for kids that have the capacity to take what they've learned and pull it all together to solve problems that aren't even created yet, much less the problems that we do know that are here that need it. So I think that we're moving into that more digital way. My fear is that we think that we just have to buy a program or just put computers in every kid's hand in order to say, oh, yep, we're teaching 21st century skills. We're there. Our district is there. Our school is there. And that's not it. I think that we need to spend a lot of time thinking about the pedagogy of teaching and instructing in a digital or in a blended learning manner, and not feel threatened as educators that a computer or a program will replace us as that human element, as that teacher, as that leader in the classroom. I do think, and I do love that there are different ways for kids to learn. There are some kids that do fantastic on blended learning, are completely virtual learning. There's still many that love being in the classroom, and I think that's important to be around your peers and develop those other skills outside of just learning the content. So I like having a choice of that. I like having a choice of that. So again, I think education, we're moving in that direction. I think people are jumping in feet first in that area of being more 21st century. But I just caution to think, pause, take a beat, and think about from a pedagogy standpoint, what does that mean? I was reading a blog post, which I love, Jennifer Gonzalez. She's amazing, Culture Pedagogy. And she had a blog post labeled Frickin' Packets. And one thing she cautioned was not to replace those worksheets in a digital format. If you're saying just type it in instead of writing it with pen and paper, how are you really changing the learning process and the learning experience for your kids in that way? So I think we need to just make sure our pedagogy is strong. We're instructionally sound with that. Where I would like it to be, though, honestly, is that we have more flexibility as schools, as teachers, and how we're instructing our kids in these different formats, and that we find some kind of way to come to the middle on making sure we're not undermining the professionalism and expertise of our teachers in our classrooms and our leaders in our buildings for the sake of getting computers and programs in hand in districts. So I would love us to reach that sweet spot of having true collaboration, having teachers being able to truly transform the teaching and learning experience based on their strengths as well. Every teacher is not great with a computer. They're not. I think there's a certain level of expertise you have to have, but we can't expect all teachers to be super techy, but help teachers find those areas that they can build on their strength, maybe in a digital format, where they can still meet the needs of their learners, being Generation Z, because that's what's in our classrooms right now. So they can still meet the needs of those learners, but also build on the content and the strengths of the teacher. If I could wave my magic wand, that would definitely be it. And one last thing, because it's so important, so dear to me, is as we're moving in this direction, making sure we're equitable and we have that social justice piece as well in there. Because I'll tell you, working where I've worked, and like I said, a lot of times even the moving is because of my husband's job. I kind of go where he went when I was teaching, but I was in areas where I did not see the equity there that it needs to be, or where I was the only person of color on an entire staff, or one of few leaders in an entire district of 40 plus schools. So I do think we need to make sure as we're moving in this way, we're not forgetting that social justice piece, that equity piece, that we're meeting the needs of our kids in that way, and also in that mental health piece as well. Wow, that was a lot. Did I cover everything? I hope so. I hope I solved all the world's problems in that one little soundbite.
Well, and what I loved about what you talked about, and I think, it's important for you to kind of, shine the light and let other people follow behind you. So I think you're doing that. And I think the Edugladiators platform is a good way of doing that too, by highlighting different people from different perspectives and educators and connect them. So I think that is that's the power of edtech, really, in one nutshell.
Thank you.
So looking at I have to ask this question. So the Edugladiators website has LSU colors. Is that by design?
We are all products of our environment in some way, right? But we can choose to go beyond that. So just saying, everybody looks good in purple and gold in general, right?
It does. It's a good color scheme. So, well, geez, we could keep going for forever here, but I do want to get to our the wheel of geekdom questions. So
Okay.
a little whimsy, a little offbeat questions, also with some educational questions mixed in. So I'm going to bring up the super duper wheel of geekdom here, and I'll just do the spinning, and then I'll ask you the questions. We'll get through as many as we can.
Awesome.
All right, so our first question is the one that you were hoping for: Star Wars, Star Trek, or Harry Potter? What's your whimsy?
Okay, there's not even a competition, right? And I'm a house divided, but I'm the only one on one side of this. I am a Trekkie. I love Star Trek. I surprise people when I say that. I literally have, because I'm a reader, I'm a bookaholic, to be quite honest. Admitting it is the first key, right? Is the first step.
Yeah.
But I literally have every book of all the Star Trek series, from Next Generation, Deep Space Nine. Boy, I can go on and on, like all of them. I have them all in my bookcase, in my bookshelf, in my office, and everywhere that we've moved. The movers, it's corporate moving with my husband's job, but when it came to packing up my Star Trek books, I was like, no, I got that. And so I packed them meticulously, and I love Star Trek. And let me say why really quickly is that, with Star Trek, I love the idea that it brings forth. When I first started watching it and that's a story in and of itself, a high school friend got me interested, is that anything is possible. And in the Star Trek world, they've already come to, not that it's perfect, but they've already come to a place where the equity piece is there. more so than not. And some of those basic human needs are already taken care of. And so I love that idea of a society that where people won't look at me and think of and see my color first, but they'll see other aspects of me, and want to learn about that. And so that part really appealed to me. And then also that belief system that in every episode, whether it's on TV or in the book or in the movies, that anything is impossible. Anything is possible. Nothing is impossible. The actual phrase is it's impossible until it's not. And Captain Jean-Luc Picard says that. And I love that. And I love how some of the captains have gone in there and just like Captain Kirk, just gone in there and they believe it so much that they make it so. And I think we can learn a lot as an Edugladiator and as educators to believe so much until we make it so.
Nice. I really like that connection. I have to ask this. This is a super geeky question. Off of that, have you watched, are you a Netflix fan? And have you watched Black Mirror at all?
You know what? I've heard a lot about Black Mirror. It's on my list to watch. I've been watching on CBS streaming Discovery, Star Trek Discovery, the new series. But Black Mirror is loaded up in my queue. So
Okay,
it is,
good.
I am taking care of that this
Start
summer
with
for sure
season
and catching
4.
up.
Start with
Season
season
4.
4. The
All
reason
right,
I
writing
asked
that
that
down.
is there's the very first one is called the I think it's called the SS Callister, and it's a takeoff of Star Trek. So you'll love the episode, I think. So start there.
Thank
Season
you,
4.
Andrew.
You can watch them at any time, but it's a great.
Okay,
I've been
that's where I'm
begging
starting. I wrote it down.
my fellow ed tech nerds. I'm like, you gotta watch the show. You gotta watch it, and nobody watches it. So I need a support group. So let me know when you've watched it.
I got you.
Okay, let's go to another question here. So we'll spin the wheel again. I think, let's see. Okay, your favorite way to unplug from technology?
Wow, that's really easy because I kind of alluded to that in my last
Yeah.
answer. I'm a bookaholic, I'm perfectly fine with the TV off all day. I stopped playing video games after Super Nintendo. The controllers have way too many buttons. I love to read, and I think the world belongs to those that read, and I'm a firm believer of that. And so, my favorite way is reading. I always have a book on my Kindle on my phone, and I always have one in my purse. Different books at that. So I'm always reading at least 2 to 3 books at any given time. So yeah, I really love doing that.
That's a great hobby, and it certainly is definitely a lifelong learning skill. All right, let's dig into one more here.
Okay.
And oh, this one's okay. We kind of already talked about this one, so I'm going to move on. It was design your own school, and I think you already, when I asked you the question about what does your ideal school look like, so I'm gonna bump that one if you don't mind.
Okay, I don't mind.
More to that one. Okay. Oh, and this is what I think is one of the toughest ones, and that is, what is your favorite educational blog?
Ooh, can I give a list?
Yeah, I think you
I'll give you
almost
my
have
top
to.
3.
In our line of
I
work,
mean,
you really just can't choose one. So yeah, give us a list,
you
knowing that there'll
can't.
probably be some they'll be like, oh, I should have said this one too. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Give us maybe
All
a
right,
top 5.
guys. If I miss you and you're watching now, blame my head and not my heart, because I have them all like plugged in and saved on my phone and bookmarked now on Twitter and all kind of different places. So some of my favorites are, of course, any of the core warriors have great ones, and I love all of them. Almost all of them have a blog of some sort. Brendan Fetters is awesome out of North Carolina, and he deals a lot with social justice. So I love his blogs about that. Also, Rochelle Dean Pope, I love her, period. She actually came to Nashville a couple of weeks ago, and so I love her and her blog because she gives a lot of tech hints, and I am 28 forever because I want to stay relevant and keep learning, and she helps me perpetuate that narrative. So I love that. Bethany Hill, love Bethany Hill out of Arkansas, Joyful Leaders. She's amazing. Sean Gallard out of North Carolina as well. He is a Beatles guru, and his blog posts are always an intricate combination of the Beatles, lessons learned from there, and how we can apply those lessons, as he likes to say, in the schoolhouse. So I love that. Uh, Paul O'Neill out of Jersey. He has a PLN 365. Incredible voice and passion there. Um, Dennis Griffin, who considers himself Mr. Batman, love his blog post, and he's new. He's new to blogging, and he is just taken off. Like his first blog he ever released was like retweeted and commented on by like all the big names in education, and I love that. And then lastly, I'll have to say, I mentioned her before, Jennifer Gonzalez, Cult of Pedagogy. I love her work. All of her blogs and her podcasts are just so informative. They're not just a feel good, because I'm really careful of, even when I go speak and present, I want you to feel good, of course, and be ready to like run into the arena, right? I want you fired up and ready to go. But I want to make sure I've given you tools to go with and walk away with something that you can do tomorrow, you know? And so Jennifer, I love reading her blogs because she always gives a lot of practical things that you can do right away. And I love that. I could go on and list about like 10 more, but those are my top right now.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, I that is almost an unfair question to ask, but I do like to have at least the list, because there's so many great people out there, and you've mentioned some people I haven't heard of, so I'm going to go back and dig into those. So, Marlena, thank you so much for spending your time with me today and throwing out all your good ideas. Are you still an active principal, or are you full time at Edugladiators? I forgot to ask that question.
Oh, no worries. So I actually just finished my time in a district office here as a director of secondary education, and loved it. But at the same time, especially with Edugladiators, it's just kind of blown up into this whole other level. And this is truly my passion of empowering and being able to travel and share with different people, and go to places, first of all, that I've never been, but then been able to share with audiences that I never would have been able to had I not been an Edugladiator and started this. So I'm Edugladiating full time. I did that before I went back to district office, and so I'm back to doing that because it's definitely hit that next level. We are starting our publishing arm, so be on the lookout for Edugladiators Publishing, and we'll be publishing books from some fantastic gladiators in the arena right now, and I'm super excited about that.
Great. Well, thank you so much. You're an inspiration and a really a powerhouse educational leader and an awesome warrior and gladiator. So thank you so much again, and we'll keep in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you, Andrew, for having me.
My pleasure. My honor. Thank you.